Hi, I'm Mark Honeyman from Mark the Moment Weddings, and I have a proposal. What do you say we have a conversation with one of Metro Detroit's most talented wedding professionals? As a wedding officiant in Southeast Michigan, I see these inspiring individuals in action almost every weekend. They're the magic makers, the ones who bring dream weddings to life. But if you're a recently engaged couple trying to decide which vendors to hire, it can be overwhelming. How do you pick from all those photographers, DJs, florists, caterers, bakers, etc.? Especially when all you know about them is what you see on a website or in some social media posts. Until today. Today, you're going to hear directly from one of those magic makers because I have a proposal that's all about introducing you to those amazing wedding professionals who make it all possible. And that includes our guest for today, Nicole Grant, creator and owner of Nicole's Sweet Toppings, a home bakery in Highland, Michigan, specializing in custom cakes and dessert tables for any occasion. A wedding cake baker turns love into something that will electrify your taste buds, crafting a centerpiece that's as meaningful as it is delicious. Long after that last dance, the first bite is what guests will remember as the sweetest part of your celebration. Today, Nicole will be sharing her journey to becoming a wedding cake baker, the way she stands out in a very crowded field, and a cornucopia of creative tips and insights for couples. Nicole, we are thrilled to have you join us for another episode of I Have a Proposal. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Mark. I'm very excited to be joining you.
Oh, thrilled to have you here. So if you're ready, let's dive in.
I'm ready.
So I'm always fascinated by sort of the paths that lead people to what they were meant to be doing. And
Yes.
So what for you was that path that led you to becoming a wedding cake baker?
Well, if you would ask my dad, it was when he bought me that first at-home little baking oven when I was like 3 or 4.
Yes.
My dad loves to bake, so that's a big part of my love for it. We've done classes and enjoy doing it together. I did it as a side hobby just to get out of the house, take classes, learn. And then once you start giving out samples to everybody, well, then that's the best advertisement, right? Like they're all on board then. Every week you got different samples for people to try and sample. So that kind of started it back in 2003. Okay. So it's been quite a while, and it was just a hobby at first, and then it came really a second full-time job.
Wow.
And I love it every weekend. Some weekends are crazier than others, but that's okay.
Got it. Yep. Wow. So that's quite a journey. Now you mentioned giving out samples. Where and was this after you got into the industry or before? And if it was before,
it was even before. So learning, I took it from a small little cake shop, cake candy shop that used to be in Heartland, Michigan. And every week we had cakes and people to sample. Well, you got to find people to give them to. So you find family and friends and anybody else you can think of possible to give away those samples, so you're not the one eating them. And it kind of just stemmed from there. So it was meant to be, I guess, after so long. Yeah, it was just like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. Yep.
I love it.
Yeah.
So, all right. So you already told us kind of how long you've been doing this. If you had to guess, how many weddings have you baked for?
Oh my goodness. I would say probably close to 100 or a little bit more. Because some weekends I did 2 or 3 weddings for quite a, as we call it, wedding season from May till October. So it was kind of just like every weekend that was this nonstop setting up here, doing them there, delivering them there. The best reaction is, unfortunately, you don't get to see the brides most of the time, right? So you get to see the guests that are there or the venue. So, and then, I wish we got to see the bride's reaction sometimes, but unfortunately we didn't.
Right. So, all right. So, obviously a wedding cake is this iconic symbol of a couple coming together and joining, for life. So what is it about a great wedding baker that is so important to the overall success of like a wedding reception and the overall day?
I feel like the most important is the taste and the texture of the cake and the buttercream. My personal wedding cake was not the best. So that was my biggest thing. I was like, I don't want anybody else's cake to be dry. It needs to be moist. It needs to be appealing to the guests. I allow them to choose from any variety of flavor that they want. It's not limited to just your basic yellow chocolate white cakes. They can get as creative as they would like. And I feel like that's the most important, is the taste. And of course, the design for the brides. Most of them are pretty simple and very basic, not basic, but very simple and elegant these days, which is I think it's a huge part of your wedding.
Right, right. So talk a little bit about how do you work with couples to figure out what the right style is for them?
Sure. When they first get in contact with me, I ask them if they have pictures, ideas they have, if they have ideas, visions in their head. Then we meet, or we don't meet, and we do it all through texting or emails, whatever they need these days.
Right.
And then
Right.
we basically go from there. But they pretty much come and they let me know what they want. The biggest part of weddings these days are dessert tables. So they
Yeah.
want a variety for their guests, not
Right.
just a cake. They might want cupcakes
Right.
on their dessert table, but I would say over half these days are just want a simple 6-inch round cake for the two of them to cut, so they have that wedding tradition. And then they
Right.
go from there. They go with dessert tables,
Got it. Got
and
it.
then they
So
can put
so
any
that's
dessert. Then they can put a whole variety of desserts out there for their guests.
right, right. And
Yes,
do you end up being responsible for all of those different parts of the dessert table, or
I
do you
do.
stick with the wedding? Wow, wow, that's impressive.
Yes, I prefer
Uh,
to be the one that sets it all to set it all out and set it up so that I have that final picture. I know everything is the way the bride's vision is.
right.
I know that there are some venues that are like, "Oh, I'm going to put it out later," and I'm like, "Oh, please." I would prefer to do that. I want my couples to have what they're expecting when they walk in, because I've seen their vision by talking to them, meeting with them, and just seeing
Right.
their pictures or their ideas. And so I prefer to be that person. It takes me a little longer to
Yeah.
set up dessert tables, but it gets the
Uh-huh.
look that they deserve and that they're looking
That's
for.
awesome. I love it. I love it. So, all right. So, do you have, I mean, obviously, you try to cater to your couple's interests and needs and desires or whatever, but do you have yourself sort of a particular culinary style or something that serve as a hallmark of the way you create desserts?
I don't really. I really just go with whatever they want. And then I go from there. I make sure, like I said, the quality of the products are the most important to me, and what their guests are receiving, and what the bride and groom get that one little bite of most nights. And hope
Right.
they have a few leftovers so that they get some later.
Right. Right.
It's really just I create whatever their vision is and go from there.
Yeah, got it. And it's, it's so funny you mentioned about only getting a couple of bites. That happened to my wife. She and I got one bite of the cake. It was easily the most delicious cake I've ever had in my life. We went on our honeymoon. We had it stored in a family member's refrigerator, like the rest of the cake, the top
Okay.
of it at least. And so
Yeah.
for 7, 8, 9 days, we're like, oh, we can't wait to get back and eat the cake. Well, apparently they decided that was the week they were going to cook a lot of Italian food, and the cake,
Oh,
I mean, saturated in garlic. That was all we
yes.
tasted. We're like,
Yes.
no.
Yes. Frosting picks up any scent that is around it.
Yeah,
Not as
we
not as
discovered
spicy
that.
to taste.
Yeah,
Yes.
right, right. It's like it
Unfortunately,
just
yes.
a sponge. Oh
Yeah.
man.
And that
So
is the one thing I tell the couples when they pick, if they choose whatever, if they choose to have a cake, I tell them make sure it's the one flavor that you're going to want, because it could be the only bite you get all night. So,
right, right.
you know,
So true. Sad but true.
yes. Yes.
So you mentioned kind of like, growing up and baking and your dad, were there any other either cultural, professional sort of influences that helped shape the way you cook?
Not really. I've done a lot of watching the shows on TV. I did a lot of, I taught 4-H for a long time in Livingston
Uh,
County, and all of
yeah.
my students watched, Duff on TV, and we needed them to shoot fireworks, and we needed them to rotate. And I'm like, guys, cakes don't realistically do that. So,
Right.
but I did have the pleasure of going to Las Vegas and taking some of the classes with those professionals we all see on Food
Oh,
Network. And we
Wow.
came away with a lot of simple, quick tricks that give you the
Yeah.
product that the couple is looking for.
Yeah, that's awesome. Can you think of one of those tricks off the top of your head? Don't mean to put you on the
Um,
spot, but I'm just curious.
no, you're completely fine. The one is to make a mock mousse. We all go out of our way and they make, they say, my dad always says, semi-homemade is sometimes better. And they teach you to use the whipped buttercream frosting that we use and use that as your mousse because then is a stabilizer and it can't move. So that was like
Got
the
it.
best thing ever. And we learned from that. And we also learned to use the gripper shelves that we all put in our shelves, like the rolled gripper stuff.
Yeah,
It will
yeah.
hold any cake in place. That's how I transport any cake. I don't put it in a box unless it's a birthday or an all occasion event. Wedding
Right.
cakes do not get boxed. They literally get put in the car on a gripper. And those were
Wow.
like, those were worth the trip all in itself.
You serious? That's like entertainment value right there.
Yeah,
So,
when I give
I
anybody
mean,
a cake, I'm like, this is gonna, especially husbands, when they come and they're like, I can put this on my truck back seat. No, you can't, but you're probably going to. So I'm gonna not
right.
look that way, and I'm gonna give you this little piece of gripper that's gonna hold your cake in place, and let's hope it doesn't do anything till you get home.
Oh, that's funny. So, I mean, a wedding cake is kind of top heavy, isn't it? Where it could topple pretty
It
easily.
is,
Like,
yes,
so do you tell them like no tight corners, no,
I do. I just hope that when they leave me.
right,
So
right,
when
after
I
that, out of
deliver
your hands.
the cakes are what I watch most of the time in my rearview
Right.
mirror. So, yep,
That's great.
I make sure that I can see the cake at all
Uh,
time while I'm driving.
I love it. I love
Yep.
it. So all right, so you've got all these different couples who've come to you and asking you to make these, cakes and dessert tables.
Yes.
How hard is it? And maybe this has evolved over time, but how hard is it to accommodate dietary restrictions, diverse guest needs?
Come a
Like,
long way. It's come a long way with how many there are.
yeah.
I have one girl who is 17 now, and when she turned 1, when I made her first birthday, we learned right away she was allergic to eggs.
Oh
And I was
no.
like, eggs. Whew, that one I don't know, right? Because I was
Right,
super
right.
new doing it. I had no idea. And I was like,
Uh,
all right, well, every little kid deserves to have a cake on their birthday. Like, we will just do trial and error from here on out. And we still do them to this day for her.
wow.
And she calls it, she has her own personal cake lady. She does. But the reaction on her face to be able to see that she can enjoy cake that all of her friends are having is amazing. She wanted
Wow.
one year this 3D panda bear. I probably baked it at least 4 times, Mark. There was
Right,
no
right.
profit in the end, but the
Right.
delivery to see her face when I got there with her cake,
Mm,
that made it all worth it. So yeah,
that's great.
dietary it's a little more adventurous. Let's just say
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Vegan, gluten-free. I work to try to make them again as moist and as appealing to guests as
sure.
possible.
Yeah,
And I feel like in most cases I have reached that quality where they can enjoy it. And
yeah.
honestly, sometimes we don't tell anybody, they don't know.
Right, right. Lips are sealed.
Right. Yep.
That's great.
Yes. So
Oh
yeah,
my
there's a
goodness.
lot,
So,
as long as they don't throw any new out there, but the gluten stuff has come a long way on its own.
right,
So that's
right.
helpful.
Yeah. Now, have you ever had a wedding where they said, "Look, we've got somebody who will go into full anaphylaxis if you include X ingredient"? Like, has it ever gotten
Yes.
that serious?
Yes, I have. So whenever there's an allergy or a dietary restriction, whatever it is, that is the only cake that's done that day. And then everything is sanitized. Everything goes in through the dishwasher, unsanitized, super hot, everything's done. And I make sure
Yeah.
nothing else, there's no cross contamination because that is my biggest
Right.
thing.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. You're sort of like the baker equivalent of a dentist's office where they have to like,
Yes. When it comes to some of these, because
sterilize.
I'm like, yes, I'm like, is this a
Man.
dietary preference or is this an allergy? Like, which
Right,
is it?
right. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, got it. That's funny.
Yeah.
All right. So allowing for the fact that you have maybe some standby recipes for certain, types of food or certain kinds of cakes or whatever,
Yes.
how do you find a way to kind of individualize what you offer to each couple, even realizing that there are maybe some core recipes that are sort of the underpinning of whatever you make?
Sure. I basically just go with your basic desserts that I know everybody loves. Your cannolis, chocolate covered strawberries, brownies, chocolate covered pretzels are a huge hit.
Yeah.
Just kind of those basics. And then this past year, we've taken on making mini pies.
Hmm.
That was adventurous, but it
I
worked out
bet.
really well.
Huh.
It was
Wow.
a baby shower. Yep, it was a baby shower, and so that took a little working to make those little pies. Pie is not exactly my thing. It is now.
Right, right, right.
It is
Wow.
now.
Wow.
Yep.
So what's the craziest thing anybody's ever asked you to make? Like either that or what's been the most difficult thing?
The
Is it the
most difficult
panda?
thing is the ones that come to you and they're like, "This is my grandma's recipe.
Oh no.
Can you
Oh,
duplicate it for my wedding?" I've had it twice. And I'm
oh
like,
man.
I can get it as close to as
Yeah.
grandma's as
Yeah.
I can, but I know that I can't create what my grandma did exactly,
Right.
so I'm probably not going to have exact taste as your grandma's, but we'll try it.
Got it. Got it. Yeah,
One
they
was
talk
a
about
cranberry
pressure.
orange. Yeah, one was a cranberry orange cake. And I was like, ooh, okay.
Yeah.
So I
Wow.
made it two different ways and we met. And I was like, you can be honest because it's not going to be exact.
Right,
And so
right.
they passed. It worked out. It was what she wanted for her wedding, and it worked out. So,
That's awesome.
but yeah,
That's
those are
impressive.
the challenging ones.
Yeah, yeah, it's got well, because not only do they have like a specific recipe that you haven't had access to up until then, but they've also got their entire like childhood memories that are
Yes,
tied into what that
yes,
tastes like and you know what I'm saying? It's like,
yes, yeah. It's
man,
like,
that
ooh,
ratchets things
okay,
up. Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yeah. So
raises the
that's
ante
probably been
just a
the most
little.
challenging.
Got it. I can see why.
Yes.
Um, so, all right. So, how long? Let's say you have like a traditional, fairly large wedding cake that
Okay.
they want you to make. How long does it take you to prepare something like that from start to finish?
Okay. Depending on the size, it can be anywhere from 3 hours to 10 to 12 hours.
Okay.
Just depending on how
Wow.
many layers, how many like different fillings, the design of the cake.
Yeah.
It can go from anywhere of those amount of hours.
Yeah, wow. And do you have if it's a cake that has some kind of like a cream filling or something, is how hard are those to make sure that nothing, that it stays either refrigerated or that, all the ingredients sort of stay the way they came out of you know what I'm saying?
Yes. Wedding cakes are always refrigerated and transported cold.
Got it.
So
Got it.
yes, the
Got it.
refrigerator is your friend for sure. Definitely like I make sure it's been in there overnight and it's nice and cold and ready to travel is the
Yep.
best way.
Got it. Got it. And do a lot of people want like cream cheese filling or, some
They
kind
do.
of internal stuff?
Yes. Yeah. Raspberry mousse is the most popular. Um,
Huh.
and fresh fruit. So with fresh
Okay.
fruit, then you have to make sure that moisture doesn't add to your cake. So you have to put a layer of
Yeah.
mousse in there to absorb that. So you have to
Got
account
it.
for that, like when you're stacking and everything. So it's just a whole
Hmm.
process of keeping it cold and keeping it stable. So nothing moves till
Right.
you get it there.
You're right. Right. Oh man.
Yes.
Oh, too funny.
Yep.
So all right. So let's say you've got in all of your experience, you don't need to get specific, but like if you've got a couple where the husband and the wife, and maybe most of the time, the one defers to the other or whatever, but have you ever had a situation where you had two very strong differing visions of what they wanted for their cake or dessert table? And if so, how did you help them kind of like get over the speed bump?
No, those grooms, they agree to whatever.
Got it. Got it.
Seriously, they're
Yeah,
like, I like that one. And a lot of them, they'll give their opinion or say, like, oh, I like this one or that one. Because
right,
sometimes when
right,
they get to me, that's the first time they've seen any of the designs that the bride likes. So
right,
they have no
right,
idea what her Pinterest board looks like until they get
right.
here.
Got
So,
it.
um,
Surprise.
yeah, surprise. I'm like, oh, I like that one. I like that one. And most of the time, they're like, yeah, I like this one or I like that one or I like
Okay.
them all.
Right,
So
right,
I don't really think in all the years I've ever had one that said, no, this is what I want. But then again, you do have brides that the dessert isn't their most important and it's the groom's
right,
most important. So he's got the
right.
idea of what he wants as a dessert for the wedding and she does not. So then she
Yeah,
disagrees.
got
So
it,
it goes
got it.
both ways.
I
He
love it.
doesn't come
I
with a
love
Pinterest board though. He just comes with a vision in his head.
right, right, right.
Yes. Or he just knows what his favorite dessert is.
Yeah,
And
you're
that's what
right.
he
Yeah,
wants.
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
that's funny. So, all right. So now this question, I'm curious to see what you say, and I'll tell you why I'm asking it in a second. How do you balance visual design with flavor and texture? And here's why I'm asking. There have been a couple times where I've been to weddings, not where I've officiated, but just, family and friends or whatever,
Okay.
where seriously, that sucker could have been put into the Louvre and people would have paid money to come look at the cake. But you took one bite of it and it was dry and pasty and, so like visually it was stunning, but the texture, the taste, so like how do you find a way, if it's a fairly elaborate kind of design, to let flavor and texture be what leads, even though you want to create something that's artistic?
Yes. I still will bake exactly the way I would normally, especially even if it's cake's got like fondant on it, which makes more heavy, more dense.
Mm.
I still make sure the base of the cake has the same taste, texture, moisture, and
Right.
then it's just more stability. It's more stabilizing it. It's more dowel rods. It's more whatever in
Right.
there it takes to give them the design they want, along with a great tasting cake. Which
Yeah.
sometimes there is crying in cake decorating. So yes, that does
Right.
happen. So that does go along with it. So yes, you just hope that you do exactly and you do exactly. I guess I always go back to I do exactly how I learn, and I know that the cake is stable, and so between stable and the design and a lot of the things, if we need to, we just add it when we get there. When I first started delivering wedding
Right.
cakes, I would not deliver anything past 2 tiers high, and then I would finish stacking them when
Huh.
I got to the venue. That was stressful, Mark.
Oh my
That was
gosh.
awful. I would
I can
rather
only
drive with a
imagine.
3 or 4 tier cake already done in my car that's been in the refrigerator for overnight than to
Yeah.
take a 2 tier cake. Now I got to add 1 or 2 layers to it at the venue. Sometimes you've got guests, people are everywhere. It's just really stressful. So
Oh,
when I
yeah.
finally learned to be like, no, travel with the cake already stacked and ready, and I was like,
Right.
really? That sounds so scary.
Yeah,
But no,
right,
I would
right.
rather put my rear view mirror on that cake that I have
Hmm.
been able to focus on at home, no distractions.
Yeah,
I could walk away if I need a break and come back and continue than to drive with it and then stack it when I arrive at the venue. So I
right.
probably did the stacking of it when I got to the venue, probably for the first 5 years of doing weddings.
Wow.
And it was a lot.
Yeah,
You got to
yeah.
take an extra table and then you got all your stuff. And I'm like, we are not doing this anymore.
No, right,
And so
right.
I think I just started talking to like, I have a couple other cake decorating friends and they're like, I've seen people do this. And I was like, yeah, they do that, but can we do that? So
Right,
I was
right.
like, all right. I think just one day I was like, that's
Wow.
it. I'm not doing
Yeah,
it. I'm trying it. I'm going to do what I know I need to do here at home. And
yeah.
I'm going to take away that stress of, taking it in 2 or 3 pieces and having to assemble
No,
it on site.
right.
It
Like
was
at the
it was
last,
a
at the
lot.
nth moment. Yeah, God.
Yes.
I mean,
And
I'm
my
I'm trying
dad
to
would
think.
be my delivery person, and he was famous for putting his finger in it.
Oh,
Yep. So
oh dear.
buttercream is very forgiving, thank goodness. Thank
Right.
goodness. Buttercream is very forgiving, and 95% of the time it can be corrected.
Right.
So for a while there, I would always give him the back of the cake. Like if I couldn't carry it myself, I would make sure my dad had the back of the cake because he always got the front of the cake. And I was like,
Yeah.
seriously? And then after so long, I was like, Dad, can you just go with me and drive? And I'll carry the cake.
Right.
So,
You have been
yeah.
relieved of duty.
Yes. I don't even, you know what? If you can't drive, it's okay. I'll drive it.
Right.
But yeah.
Yep.
So yes. Yeah. So I was like, how? How do you every time you do this? How much more room do you need?
You're right.
Like you
God,
watch those
that-
cake shows? Like, come on.
You're right. Right.
But I've never
God.
taken them over a staircase in a box like we see on TV. That's scary.
Right. Yo, jeez. I mean, I'm thinking about what it would be like for me as a wedding officiant to show up without my script fully written, and now I'm trying
Right.
to piece stuff together like
Exactly.
an hour before the wedding happened. You know, oh my
Yes.
gosh, yeah.
Yeah, it was a
totally get why
lot. So
you-
that was,
yeah.
and that was too, that was probably just learned from watching on TV and watching the professionals do it that way. That wasn't anything I learned when I took the classes because she was old school. So she did the, delivering it in
Yeah.
a couple pieces.
Yeah.
But no, that was the best thing ever when I learned that I didn't have to do that any longer.
Yeah, for sure. Wow.
Yes.
Oh, that's funny. All right, let me see here. So, all right, so some wedding professionals, regardless of like subcategory, DJs, photographers, whatever,
Yes.
have either a certain, like they specialize in certain kinds of ceremonies, or they cater to a certain, no pun intended, to a certain kind of clientele. Do you have sort of a niche part of the catering, part of the wedding industry that sort of feels like your wheelhouse?
I really don't. I really am open to any couples who ever come, whatever they need.
Okay.
It's more accommodating to what the bride and groom need. Might be a little more stressful in my end, but it's giving the couple what they want for their day.
Right. Got it. Okay. So now this one might make you laugh. So let's say I know that, especially listening to you talk, you are a food artiste. Okay. How challenging is it when a couple comes to you and says, yeah, we just want a plain chocolate cake?
It's
is
so
that like,
hard.
ugh, that's
It's
gotta
so
be like,
hard.
come on, I
So
can do
hard.
more
If they
than
don't
this.
want to put a topper on it or flowers or anything, it is probably the hardest thing to put on the table and walk away because I don't feel like I've completed the cake.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I just want to say, can you just get a topper that has your last name on it or something? And they're like, no, we just want it for the cutting ceremony. And I'm like, yeah, I get that, but that's going to be in your wedding album. Like that's what you're going to see from every
Yeah.
time you look at your cake. That's what you're getting. And they're
Yeah.
like, no, it's okay. And I'm like, but in my head, it's not okay. Like those are my hardest deliveries to walk away, and I feel
bet.
like I didn't complete the cake.
Yeah, I believe that. And that was kind of like, I kept thinking about like how frustrating that must be for you to feel like you left so much on the table, of what
And
you could have offered,
exactly. And probably you see it too when you walk into a venue and you got this big table and this little itty bitty cake,
Yeah.
and they didn't want anything on it. And I'm like,
Yes.
well, can you get a 4-inch table then? Because it's
Right.
definitely going to take away from the cake more. So that is
Yeah.
that is the hardest part.
Oh, that's funny. So all right. So you've got, you create these dessert tables and cakes and things. I'm curious to know how much does either the venue, the season, the guest count, do any of those factor in, or do you? I mean, obviously you would have to make more of something if it's more people. I mean, but beyond that,
Yes.
what are some factors that affect what you create beyond just the preference of the couples?
Strawberry season. Strawberry season. Strawberry season is a huge challenge. They want them so many times, and I'm like, they're not going to be great. They're not going to taste great. I try to avoid chocolate covered strawberries. That is my biggest thing to try to avoid when strawberries are off season. Not only that, I have to up the charge so much more because of that. They don't taste as good. We all know that, right?
Yep.
So, that's probably the hardest thing is seasonal items that they want. that I can't get in December.
Right, right,
I
right.
can. Let me rephrase that. I can get them. They just
Right.
don't taste as great.
Exactly. Now,
Yep.
are there other things besides strawberries that you sort of routinely use over the course of a year, but certain portions of the year make it either so expensive it's not, in their budget, or they're going to be too tart or whatever. So beyond strawberries, are there other things that you struggle to get on a regular basis?
No, strawberries really are it.
Okay,
Yep.
got it, got it.
Especially when it comes to
Okay.
dessert table. Strawberries are the hardest thing in the off seasons to get.
Gotcha, gotcha. So, all right. So, I just mentioned about like budget and costs and things. What are some behind the scenes factors that go into the cost of a dessert table or a cake in particular that maybe couples are like not aware of how much time and effort or expense you have to put in to create whatever it is they're asking for?
Yes. Um, it it goes back to strawberries again too, right? I might need 3 dozen strawberries, but I have to buy 10 pounds to accommodate them, right? So that is one of the factors that they don't. They're like, why are they that much? I'm like, because I had to buy 10 pounds to get your three
Yeah,
dozen,
right.
which is huge.
Yeah.
It's really
Hmm.
back to the restrictions or dietary.
Yeah.
They they're like, why is that $4 a piece? Why is
Hmm.
that? Because there's so much more that goes into it. Yes, you
Yeah.
want a dozen. For example, on Sunday, I did a dozen vegan lemon lavender cupcakes.
Hmm.
Well, those ingredients are so much more than I need for my regular cupcakes.
Right.
And they're like, why is it that much for a dozen? Well, because I want to give you good quality,
Right.
but I also then am, so you want a dozen, I end up with a dozen or half or 2 dozen cupcakes. And I'm a
Ah,
home bakery, so everything's made to order.
okay.
So then what do I do with them? Luckily, my husband can take
Right.
them to work. But
Okay.
that is a huge, like, people don't think of that. They're like, why do you require on a dessert table, it's a minimum of 2 dozen per item.
Yeah.
That's why. because
Right.
I'm not a storefront.
Yeah,
I want it to
right.
be fresh, homemade, fresh, ready for you, but I can't keep backup stock. So
Right.
I don't
Right.
have a
Right.
storefront to for purchases. So that becomes a very big factor. Literally, my husband and I were talking about it an hour before we got on. Because I was like, what do I do with that? I have this big container of lavender frosting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Right.
I cut the
Right.
recipe in half, but I still could frost another, you know, 5 dozen cupcakes.
Right.
So
Right.
that's the biggest factor. And I try, being a home bakery, to keep the cost down as much as I can. But we
Sure.
all know what the cost of the grocery store is these days. So
Yeah.
it's getting really hard to be like, I live here. I have to maintain the house. So those aren't, they're not part of my um like storefront or any of that. Like,
Right.
I don't have that
Right.
profit. These bills are
Yeah.
included because we live here. But
Right.
the
Right.
grocery part of it is becoming super hard to accommodate, to keep it as,
Yeah.
beneficial for them as in for myself.
Sure. Well,
Because I
and I
used to do
think,
this full time as a second. This was used to be my second full time job, and now it's slowed down to just my part time job, and that's
got
okay.
it.
That's
Right.
okay. After
Right.
COVID, things slowed down, and then cupcakes became really popular, and then we started going to the dessert tables. So that's okay. I
Yeah.
don't mind slower.
Right.
We can do a little more things on the weekends.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, you
Yeah.
get it,
Yeah.
right? It takes up your whole weekend. So,
Yep. Yep.
yep.
Well, and I think we're so into the Costco mindset where it's this,
Yes,
mass produced, super cheap, and that's not you. You are a
it's not.
craftsman,
Yes.
so
Everything is made to order, and you want these certain ingredients that I need to make those vegan cupcakes,
yeah.
then they're going to cost so much more because it costs me so much more, And it's a little
Yep.
more time, but it's definitely the more cost that they don't. And I get it. They're like,
Right.
well, like you said, I can get that at Costco. Okay.
Right,
I mean, I
right,
can't argue with you. You're correct. You can,
right. But it sure won't
but
taste the
it's
same.
a whole different taste.
Yep,
So,
yep.
for the
Uh,
longest time, sheet cakes were popular.
mm, yeah.
So they were like, I just want a small cake and I'm going to get my sheet cakes from Costco. Okay. Like,
Jeez.
I can't, or I would do the kitchen cakes, right?
Hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
then they're not beneficial either because,
Right.
you're
Yeah.
losing out on that too. Is it easier?
Right.
Yes. But obviously, when you put this little 6-inch cake out there, your guests are knowing they're not going to serve the same cake.
Right.
So,
Right.
kitchen cakes have faded out, thank goodness. Because for a while there, I literally was making small cakes and then just bake sheet cakes. And sheet cakes aren't fun.
No, you're right.
They're not
Right.
enjoyable at all.
Oh man. So, all right. So hopefully a lot of engaged couples will find their way to these different podcasts that I'm doing. So
Yes.
for any of them who might be listening, what questions should they ask a potential wedding cake and dessert table baker? And how can they even tell if that person's the right fit?
They get mainly, I would definitely say it's the taste. Definitely taste the product before you agree to that's what you want. A lot will do meet, we'll meet with you, make samples. If you meet them at a bridal show, whatever, there's always samples. I feel like that's the most important. And I know they'll say, oh, desserts aren't my favorite thing. Okay, they're not, they might not be your favorite thing, but let's be honest, that's what guests are going to weddings for, is the good meal and the desserts.
Yep.
So
Yep.
they want that too. So, and that's super important.
Right.
And I think
Yeah.
I always tell them, you pick the desserts that are what the two of you want.
Right.
It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Grandma says the cake needs to be white cake, white frosting.
Yeah.
Okay. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter that mom wants it to be that. No, it's what the
Yeah.
two of you want.
Yeah.
You're going to enjoy those. You're picking those desserts for your guests that are for what you enjoy.
Right. Right. So, all right. So, how far in advance should a couple book you? And I mean, just in general, book a baker, but you in particular, like, how much advance warning do you need to be prepared? Is it, like, when should they contact you
Yes.
in the scope of
I
their
would
wedding?
say at least 6 months. It's super important. The date is what's important. I don't need to know your details right away. You need to hold that date. Because being a home bakery, I don't do more than 2 weddings a day or a weekend now. In the past, I would have done 4 weddings a weekend. I don't do that any longer. That was stressful. I was
Yeah.
younger.
Right.
There's a whole lot there. I had really great support. My sister became a really great delivery person. My sister and brother-in-law. My sister-in-law became a great delivery person. But again, I would prefer to be the person that is there to deliver it.
Yeah.
So, especially in occasions if it's raining, or the venue
Right.
doesn't have a covered area. So the main thing I feel like is you need your date. Reach out,
Yeah.
ask what your date is. Do they travel to your venue? What is the distance at the venue that the bakery will travel to?
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
all
That makes
travel
sense.
far. There is a travel fee. I prefer to stay local.
Sure.
Um,
Sure.
I will travel if needed, but I've traveled a couple times for couples, and I've traveled a couple times for nieces and nephews.
Okay.
So
Got
I've
it.
got the traveling part of it down. It's just a
Got
little
it.
more stressful. But definitely ask how far your venue is going to go, what they accommodate, who sets it up if you choose a dessert table. That's super important.
Yeah.
If they got a venue that doesn't let us in till an hour before, it's just small details like that are important to know
Right.
where your window time is
Yeah.
to
Right.
get it set up.
Yep.
So I think that's really about the main thing is your date.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. It's funny you mentioned the traveling part. Yeah, I'm chuckling at the thought of you having to stare in the rearview mirror for like 60 miles watching
Yes.
this cake, praying to
Yeah.
God.
Praying. Yes. Yeah.
Oh
My
man.
son used to make fun of me. He's like, "Do you know what's in front of you, Mom?" And I was like, "Yeah, cars." I'm watching them too, but yes, I'm also watching the person behind me.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's
I
funny.
need to know what the cake is doing and what the car behind me is doing.
Right. Oh my goodness.
I sat in traffic once on 696 going to like Mount Clemens. I was like, okay, never again. We're never doing this again. I'm not sitting in traffic. This is stressful.
Right.
We live in Michigan. We know that is, all of
Yeah.
wedding season is construction season.
Oh,
So
yes.
I'm like, nope, I can't. I don't want to sit in this long traffic. If you want cupcakes, yes, I'll deliver them to you,
Right.
or a dessert table a distance,
Yeah.
but not a
Yeah.
tiered cake. It's too
Right,
stressful.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
God. So do you, when you think back, excuse me, think back on your career, do you have a funniest or quirkiest or most surprising moment that kind of stands out as, something you'd be comfortable sharing?
I think it was when those, I don't know if you remember them, but they were called topsy-turvy cakes. So it looked like the
Yes.
cake was intentionally falling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a couple of those, like, I think I did 2 weddings like that, and then the rest were birthdays. And those were always challenging but unique to me. But I'm like, I've learned how to stack the cake straight. And now you want me to put it
Right.
on an angle
Right.
and drive with it. I think it was more that the rolling of the fondant
Okay.
and getting that angled and like the when
Good.
those were popular there for a while, I was like, okay, well,
God.
Mad Hatter
It-
cakes, that's what they were called. Mad Hatter,
okay.
topsy
Yep.
turvy. Yeah,
Holy
those
cow.
were a lot. I don't miss those.
No, I can see why. Good Lord.
Yeah, no, I don't miss
Uh,
those.
that is funny.
Yeah.
Now, do you conversely, do you have or just in general, do you have something kind of like touching or uplifting that you've experienced as a wedding baker that really sort of stuck with your spirit?
Mine is seeing the reactions when you do deliver,
Mm,
especially to kids. Or on the occasion you do get to see the bride, um, or the reaction after. Because one sometimes, and I don't know about you, but sometimes I can be done at the venue and then there's no contact anymore, right?
right. Yeah.
Some of my customers become friends, like
Yeah.
Matt and Priscilla.
Right.
Some
Right.
become really great friends, and then some I do all of their kids. They're like all the next main events in their lives, and then their kids. When they have kids, and I get
Yeah.
to do all of that. But some couples, once I set their cake up,
Yep.
that's
See
it.
ya.
You don't even know what yeah, it's like, see you. You have no idea what their
Right.
reaction was or any of that. So I
Yeah.
guess my favorite part over the years is getting to see the reactions of the couples or
Yeah.
hearing feedback the next day or a week later.
Right.
Just because then you know that you've completed your time with them, I guess you could
Yeah.
say. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
we
Mission
communicate so many
accomplished.
times. Yeah, mission
Yeah.
accomplished. Absolutely. That's a
Yeah.
good way to put it. Yes.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'm like, was it okay? Was it not? Like, was it their vision? Did my
Right.
vision, what I created and what I thought their vision was it their vision? Um,
Right.
so getting to know that part or getting to see a bride who's, in the hustle and bustle of getting ready. And then if she does get to see the cake, just seeing that brief few minutes of her reaction that's the best part.
Yep. Yep. I get it. I totally get it.
Yep.
Um, so, all right. So, what are I know that the people who come to you are thrilled with the work you do. I've seen reviews. I've talked to Priscilla and I mean, obviously.
Thank you.
So,
Yes.
what are some of and by the way, I'm asking, so this isn't bragging. What are
Sure.
what are like 2 or 3 or 4 of the things that your satisfied customers say about you in terms of the service you provided them?
Sure. It goes back to the moisture of the cake.
Mm,
I make sure it's a great quality product that they're receiving. I'm very I try to be as very accommodating and make it as easy on the couples as possible. I try to take away any headache, any stress that might add to their day. I say, let that be me. Like that's up to me. Once you get to that venue, the desserts, that's all on me. Like we've discussed it. I know what you want. It's just giving them that vision they want with less stress that day. I try to make it as easy as possible on them. I try to be as accommodating as I can be to a certain point, right? But I
Right,
try, I'm like,
right.
this is your day. This is what you want. You're my focus that day,
Yeah.
to deliver my product to your guests and for your event so that everybody is satisfied. And so when you walk in, that final dessert table has the presentation look that you envisioned, or that wedding cake has the vision that you wanted, for your big day.
Right, right.
Yeah,
So, all
that's
right.
the most
So,
important to me, is make it as easy as possible on them.
sure, sure. So, all right. So, let's say we've got some engaged couples who listen in or watch, and they're like, "Oh, that Nicole sounds amazing," which I'm believing a lot of them will be.
Thank you.
How do they get the ball rolling if they want to actually potentially hire you? Do they go to a website and submit a form? Like, what's the best way to kind of
They
get that
can
started?
Sure, they can contact me through my Facebook page, which is Nicole Sweet Toppings. Also has a bunch of pictures, information on there for them to see. Instagram, they can message me. They can share my phone number, get that out to them. Message. I do a lot of text messaging. Sometimes I don't even meet with a couple. Sometimes I book a whole order through a text message.
Oh,
And then you
wow.
really hope that their details are the same vision as yours.
Holy cow. Yeah, that would be nerve wracking.
Yeah,
Wow.
I've had couples where I haven't met with them, and we do it all through text messages or emails. So, which I get. Everybody's busy, and that's modern
Yeah.
technology, and
Yeah.
if that's what it is, and that's how we do it.
Yeah.
So, absolutely, yep.
Wow. Wild. All right. Well, cool. I hope you get just deluged with people who are looking to hire you
Thank you,
and
Mark.
bring you on board the team. Is there any question before we kind of like call things quits? Is there any question that I didn't ask that you wish I had? Something about what you do or who you are as a part of this industry that you would love to share with people that I didn't poke at yet?
I don't know, you did an amazing job. I think you hit on all of the aspects. Um, No, I really can't. I think, like I said, reach out, tell me what your vision is, or what your budget is. That's huge to me too. Like if a couple comes and they have a budget, we work within any amount of budget you have, to
Right.
accommodate, to give you the desserts that you want for your guests in
Yeah.
a meaningly fashion, right?
You're
So, but
right.
it
Right.
definitely will work within any budget, and that is when they come to me and I can tell if they're unsure or whatever. I'll be like, "Do you have a budget? Do you have like a certain amount of guests that you want to accommodate? We can. This is what I recommend, but this isn't what we need to do. We can always downsize it." Because just because this guest takes 2 desserts, this one might take 4. So
You're
we can
right.
always
Right.
balance it that way. So I
Yeah.
try to work with them as much as I can when it comes to budget wise. And I know weddings are expensive.
Yeah.
Everything out there is expensive these days.
Right.
So
Right.
definitely try to accommodate them.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I truly, I hope lots and lots of people find their way to you from listening to what we shared today. So I guess at this point, I'm going to kind of draw things to a close with some thank yous.
Okay.
First of all, to you, Nicole, for joining us today. I'm so profoundly grateful that you took the time to share your insights and your experiences. I want to thank my producer, who ironically enough is a former student of mine,
That's awesome.
Brandon, which is incredible. And so I want to thank him for everything he did to bring this podcast to life and
Yes.
shepherd me through all the craziness that I had no idea what I was doing.
I give you credit. I have no idea. We've talked about that 2 messages. I was like, I don't even know where to begin.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's been a huge learning curve, but I'm getting there.
Amazing. You did amazing.
Thank you. I so
So
appreciate that.
yes, definitely. Thank you for reaching out and doing this with me. I really appreciate everything you've done. It's been great talking with you, and I look forward to working together in the future.
I hope
I
that
know it.
happens. So
Yes, absolutely. You did amazing in the one at Matt and Priscilla's wedding. That was probably one of the most beautiful ceremonies I've been to. So
Thank you.
absolutely, highly
Yeah.
recommend anybody reaching out to you. Definitely, that was amazing.
Ah, bless your heart. Thank you so much.
No, thank
Um,
you. You're
I'm,
welcome.
I'm really hoping those engaged couples out there are gonna, hear some great ideas that they can use and who they might want to hire. Hint: Nicole Grant.
Thank
So,
you.
and don't forget about your friendly neighborhood officiant. We're
Absolutely, yes.
we're the ones who try to create a ceremony that speaks to who you are, but. And this is the part I think people sometimes kind of like forget. We're the ones who actually make it legal. Like we sign the license.
Absolutely.
Without
I re-
us, what I usually say is without us, you're still dating, just in nicer clothes. So
Absolutely. That's so true.
so
I was just gonna say you start the whole process, right? Like you get them married and then the rest of us just hop in there to give them a great big party to enjoy it. But yeah, they
right.
definitely need you first.
It's so funny. So
Yes.
I hope everybody enjoyed the episode. Clicks that subscribe button and checks me out on social media at Mark the Moment Weddings. So I am Mark Honeyman, and by the power vested in me, I bid you farewell until the next time I have a proposal.